Welcome to all of you. Thank you for coming. I think you know the way we do these by now, which is that you will ask questions, anything we can answer, anything you would like to hear from us. I hope we'll give everybody an opportunity to answer questions before early questioners come up for a second question, so everybody gets a chance. But for those of you who might not know me, I'm Shirley Strum-Kinney. I'm the interim president at Stony Brook, at Augusta. That's the second time I've done that. Sorry. At Augusta State University. Very happy to be here. Very impressed with the history of this institution and excited about its future, and here to do anything I can do before January, at which time my presidency will end. So we got a lot to do. I hope this fall, exciting things that I think we can do together to move toward our new agenda. And I just feel very privileged to be here with you and able to participate. I think you all know my colleague, Dr. Aziz, and I will give him an opportunity to speak, and then your turn.
Great, thank you. It's always a pleasure to be here, talk to people, hear your thoughts. I learn a lot every time I come here, so I appreciate it. I am still a guest on the Augusta State campus, so as I always remind Dr. Kinney, I'm just here as a guest, but certainly I appreciate the opportunity. It's really great here, and the campus is so beautiful that it's really a pleasure coming up here. And with that, I don't have much more to say right now.
Okay, well, your turn. If you have questions, please. There are mics along the way. It's very hard to see from here.
It's a little hard to see you from down here, so we don't recognize you because we can't see you. I think you have somebody right here.
Okay, right here.
I have a question about shared governance. For Dr. Aziz, I think in a blog in the spring you said that later on you were going to address shared governance. And as you know, there are working groups now putting together proposals for faculty approval on the structure of the governance, both at the university level and at various college levels. My question is, from your perspective as the president, what are the kinds of issues that you would most like to have faculty input on, not via the deans, but directly from the faculty before you make a decision? Or putting that another way, what do you see to be the faculty's share of shared governance?
So obviously let me start out by simply saying that one of the reasons, in fact, I've held off from writing that blog is I'd like to wait for the committee's recommendations so that I don't preempt or try to guide them. But shared governance, for those of you who may not know or may not be in the faculty, really speaks to the fact that obviously in universities there is a shared governance, a sharing of the governance between the faculty and the administration around obviously the large number of issues that universities have to deal with, whether it's academic programs, whether it's budgetary priorities, whether it's vision, strategic planning, these kind of things. I'll tell you off the top of my head the things that I actually do need, and we all need, faculty involvement around. Certainly we need faculty involvement heavily around strategic planning, the strategic vision. You know, we're having to go through some rapid strategic visioning because of our need for SACs. But you know, at the end of the day, strategic vision and direction, leaders can sort of point to some areas, but that really needs to be developed and fleshed out by the faculty as they develop it. We need the faculty's input around academic excellence, academic programming, issues that really relate to student success and student services. I mean, at the end of the day, you are, and you know the population, you know the students, you know that group of individuals, and so we need to be looking to you for that kind of expertise. Shared governance around budgetary items gets a little bit more complex simply because there are a lot of limitations to how the budgets are divided and lots of if you would, stakeholders to need to speak in it, but certainly faculty's voices need to be there. They need to be heard. They need to understand. And it's a two-way street, right? Shared governance has to do not only with what are my authorities or responsibilities, but also what is my ability to communicate that. So off the top of my head, without really giving you a lot of more, certainly those are some of the larger areas that I think faculty need to have leading roles. In general, the majority of the drive around the academic programming and academic vision and strategic direction should come from the faculty. I mean, you know, there's no real other way to get it done. I mean, that's why sometimes when we have a forum and people ask me a question about something specific, I will simply say, at the end of the day, I'm looking to you to tell us how that should happen. Okay? And I don't know if I hope I answered your question. Great.
Anybody else?
And again, you can have questions for Dr. Kinney, too. I'm going to sit behind the chair, so. Other questions?
Whoever turned down the
If not, I have a few bullets of information, but.
Sure, I'll ask a few. Now, I've heard that the process of a lot of the merging, getting all the kinks pulled out is going to probably take about 10, 20 years. What is the construction that might happen here on this campus, the Augusta Arsenal campus? And that's the first part of the question. So what construction might be done on this campus?
So I'm going to try to answer that a little bit. So let's just talk about the timeline that you spoke about. The process of consolidation, meaning getting the systems to work together and so on and so forth, that's generally about an 18-month to 24-month process. So consolidation should be pretty much complete within about 24 months from a process point of view. That's very different than when are we going to become the next great American university in a true comprehensive environment. And that'll take time. You know, it takes 10, 20 years. If you look at the history of others that have done this, you know, UAB or, you know, or other, you know, I use UAB a lot because I spent 15 years there. You know, it takes 15, 20 years. So I think we don't want to get confused about the timelines. Now, the question is about facilities. And so let me just give you my vision. This is not backed up by any authority at this point or any specific plan or anything, but I'm going to share with you what I am, you know, what I'd like to see, but that's me. This is not the team really speaking in many ways and so on and so forth. Somerville campus, or however you want to call it, you call it the Arsenal campus, is truly what I call a signature campus. I mean, this is sort of where people, for the larger new Georgia Regents University, this would be the place that people would say it's a beautiful campus environment, right? And so this is a place where we should consider developing, of course, more student services, because at the end of the day, the bloodline, the lifeline of any university is its students. And so we need to be thinking about a recreational area. We need to be thinking of some housing on this campus, but primarily perhaps for either honor students or freshman students. Remember, freshmen are the ones in transition. Their parents don't just want to send them off into the great unknown. We need to be talking about dining facilities for those students. So we need to really think about how to enhance student services on this campus. And certainly, as the academic programs grow, we need to be looking at how to grow that academic program facilities, because at the end of the day, you do need space and state-of-the-art type of technology to provide that teaching. But, you know, the campus, the university, really will be very large. It'll have about 650 acres of different sites, if you would. You know, there is the downtown campus, if we would, or the health sciences campus. There's the riverfront campus. There's the Wrightsboro or Forest Hill campus campus site. And, of course, you know, there are lots of different plans for development there. To be fair, all of this really needs to be done around some major master plan. And it is our intention that as soon as the consolidation does proceed into, that we'll go ahead and study and create a master plan, because otherwise you just don't know where you're going. I mean, you're just sort of speaking. That's why I'm just sharing you a little bit of the vision, but not really, I can't give you any specifics, because we do need some of that basic infrastructure.
All right, to continue with that, considering about the master plan, this campus, the reason I call it the Augusta Arsenal campus is that there's many historical buildings on this campus. There's the Bellevue Hall, there's the Arsenal itself, and personally, being a historical preservationist I am, what can, during the master plan, be some fail-safes to make sure that during this process that, well, we don't destroy some of the local and national historic resources that this campus provides for its students. Because in all honesty, if we have no past, we have no future. And
Well,
if we
so-
forget that, well, we are nothing.
So I am completely in agreement. I mean, the process of a master plan will be very transparent. It'll be shared with the campus and so on and so forth. Remember, a master plan is a 10, 20-year vision about what the university as a whole would look like. But I absolutely agree with you. I mean, I think it'd be horrific if we actually begin to sort of tear down historic buildings because, in fact, A, we wouldn't do that, and B, it's not the right thing to do for a situation as our campus. It's a beautiful campus with beautiful historic buildings. I should tell you that when I was at UAB, my own office was actually in the oldest building on campus, their 1903 Hillman Hospital. In fact, I fought to keep that building open. There was a plan to destroy it because, you know, there was other better needs, and the truth is there was no better needs than actually preserving the history of that university at that time. So, fully in agreement, this is not something that you need to convince this president about the value of history. Simply it is, you know, the master plan will be, you know, transparent process. We'll see lots of things. There's certainly lots of areas, parking surfaces and so on and so forth that are not of historic value. But I appreciate your concern around it. It's our concern as well. Absolutely.
And it is a very, very special part of this campus.
Right.
I mean, it's quite
Very, very true.
wonderful.
Oh, and this one's a short one. I know I've hogged it. Is there any chance of having a full bachelor's degree for archaeology here when the merging's done?
Well, you know,
Right.
so I'm going to say to the answer of shared governance, I'm going to be looking to the faculty to help drive that.
On that one?
But I should say the following. The greatest potential for growth in academic programs will be in the undergraduate and non-health science graduate programs. That's actually where the largest potential. We currently have 44 non-health science degrees in the combined university. So the growth will be in that area. I can't speak to you about that particular one because obviously I don't know, but I can tell you that the growth in academic programming will be primarily around the non-health science areas.
But, you know, given the nature of the campus in this part of the country, that is a great idea. It's really a great idea because the kids could have,
Sounds really
students
cool, but
could have real
know.
experience.
It's lots of fun.
Yeah, real experience.
Great, thank you.
All right, I'm going to stop holding this hostage. Someone else come up here and ask a question.
we got your relief here.
I have a general question about policies. Are the policies going to be the same across the board unilaterally between the medical campus as well as the historic Somerville campus? And more specifically, there was a notation about the smoking policy being surveyed about on the Augusta State campus and possibly being discontinued completely as far as tobacco on campus. Because I know that GHSU, or formerly MCG, years ago, not even that long, I think it's less than 10 years ago, they did a nationwide study to see if going to completely tobacco-free would be beneficial to the students and to the community, and if that's been accepted amongst other universities and such. And it was, and it was a very favorable policy amongst smokers and non-smokers. But I do know that we have a history of not necessarily following surveys completely how they are generated. And I just want to, and first of all, I want to know that if the survey does show that, okay, it is definitely a positive to be completely tobacco-free at Augusta State campus, is that something that's going to happen the first year that we're a merged university, or is that something that, well, is going to be kind of delayed and, kind of slowly dip our feet into the waters about that?
I'm expecting that decision to be made on my watch. I'm expecting for a decision. I don't know when or what it will recommend, but I'm expecting at least the decision on the policy to happen in the next few months.
Do you see any type of that policy or any other policies being different between the two different campuses?
Over the long run, probably not. Over the short run, obviously, there's a lot that has to be consolidated. And, I would think this would be one of the easier issues that we're going to have to deal with. But in the long run, yes, when we have come together and when we have made this thing we are making, then I think it is expected that the policies will be across the board unless there is some exceptional reason for an exception.
So, as Dr. Kinney said, the smoking policy will probably be under her watch. But in general, the question about policies is that we'll be one university, and so, to the extent that one university requires uniform policies regarding issues, we will have to do that. There are 75 work teams looking and working to do that. Let me just speak a little bit about surveys. Obviously it would be, unwise to make decisions based on survey alone. We'll have to actually both survey and see what other individuals and other institutions are doing, and then obviously put it into our own context so we to do that. And that's what actually these committees are working so hard to do. We have to have some basic structure of policies for day one. But it will be an ongoing process. I mean, it'll, like I said, those are the kind of things that take 24 months to iron out. You begin to view the differences. Sometimes you decide to have differences and then amalgamate them and so on and so forth. So it'll be a process.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes.
Sorry.
Right over here.
Hello, how are you doing? I'm Demetrius Larry. I'm a senator for Augusta State University, and I had a quick question for you. I know a lot of students have come up and talked to me about what name will be on their diploma, and I know you spoke about the GRU and how you chose it to be nationally recognized, but it'll also take a course of 10 to 20 years. Well, some students are worried about that, leaving from ASU and having GRU on the diploma. They're worried that employers won't really recognize the name. They're worried that employers won't take it seriously. And there have been questions, will ASU be grandfathered in on the diploma? Is there an option to have it grandfathered? Or as of January 1st, 2013, will it simply be everybody gets a name GRU on their diploma?
Well, I'll tell you what I think the committees are working on. But it is the same strategy that was used. Obviously, we've gone through a name change. SACS, the accrediting body, will have one official name. And so students who graduate will be getting a name, a diploma with the official name of the university, in this case, Georgia Regents University. But what we've done for our students is give them the option of buying a diploma in whatever the name was of the school at the time they entered. I think the fee is small, $10, $15, $20, I don't know what it is, because it does require us to keep it as separate records. But that is something that they'll have and they'll be able to take with them. And alternatively, in fact, over time, alumni, so if you've graduated, say, from Augusta College, you at this point could come and reapply, simply say, send a letter, a form, and say, I'd like an updated diploma based on whatever it is, that current thing. So we've done that before, we've handled it. And so that is, I believe, the plan, but as I said before, I don't know that that plan has been finalized. But we do respect that. People do come into a school with a certain name, and you're absolutely right, it'll take some time for name recognition to occur. So while the official diploma will be in the official name of whatever the institution is, we will be able to generate those other diplomas. The only thing that we've gotten from the students really is that they would like them in English. And I say that because our diplomas have been in Latin, which makes the employers, it makes it hard for the employers to actually understand what the diploma is about. So that's the only thing I think that will be sort of modulating.
I'm sorry, if I heard you correctly, you say we have to pay to have our name on our diploma for a school that we came into thinking it was going to initially be on our diploma, as opposed to paying to have GRU on our diploma. That's correct?
And that may be the situation. Like I said, I don't have an answer for you, but the answer to you is there's going to be one official diploma, right? And that's the one that obviously all students will receive. And there will be options, again, to receive a diploma with other names.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Aziz,
Yes,
my name is Brian Killips, 2001 undergrad from ASU. I also played basketball here at Augusta State. I came in a little late, so I apologize if you've addressed this before, but as was spoken, money was spent on for a survey that revealed what everybody already knew, and that was that having the name Augusta was the most appealing thing in the name recognition. On the contrary, Georgia Regents in said survey, was the least appealing, carried no national significance whatsoever. As a result, I know you're well aware, the entire city and state is upset, and as a result, unfortunately, you become a pariah in this city. The name is it's seen as a joke, as evidenced in national syndicates like the Huffington Post, the Golf Channel, all the way out in Sacramento, California. They've noted that this was not a good decision. In your last speech, which we appreciate you coming here and answering the questions, you said name recognition takes, for this new name, like was mentioned, 20 years, when we could start day one with a name that's recognized. We're going to take 20 years to establish what we already have, that's something that's recognized nationally. Me playing basketball here with pride, our basketball team played in the NCAA tournament, name recognition, 2 national championships for golf. People know who we are all over the world. Even when I was in South Africa this past December, people knew that I was from Augusta, knew what that was all about. So on top of that, we've got a pending lawsuit coming from Regents University because the new name implies that we're a satellite campus to Regents University, founded by Pat Buchanan. So I guess my question to you is, I think with your influence, you carry a lot of it. I think a simple message to the Board of Regents could fix all of this. We supported you when the consolidation came through. We're excited about it. And we're ready to get your back once again, once you stand behind us and appreciate what we want. We're good people here. We wish no harm. We want a respectful name that recognizes our community, something that everyone in the nation already knows, and something that'll be recognized from day one, not 20 years from now. So if you could just maybe address, maybe with your influence of going back to the Board of Regents, who didn't see that initial survey, and maybe say, what, maybe we did, flaw in the way that we reached this decision before it's too late, before the state spends millions of dollars on a lawsuit that doesn't need to be fought.
So let me try to answer that to the extent. Of course, I'd rather spend time really talking about some of the other complex issues as well. But let me try to answer your questions. One, the Regents and anybody in the administration has not meant any disrespect to Augusta, even though you may feel it that way. I think it's important to recognize that there have been 4 consolidations in the state of Georgia. The Regents have removed the city name from every single one of those consolidations. Gainesville State lost their name, Macon State lost their name, Waycross State lost their name. This is not they didn't pick on Augusta for this. It was their strategy around building a bigger enterprise, right? They didn't want to just build a local university. They were trying to build, in those cases, a regional university, so that's why their names were Middle Georgia and South Georgia, North Georgia, that kind of thing. For this university, their intentions was to build a larger statewide university based out of Augusta. So at the end of the day, when we talk and say Chapel Hill, right, we think UNC. When we think of Durham, we think of Duke, and so on and so forth, because again, they're great universities in those places. So I do think it's important to recognize that I don't believe that the Regents made a decision to actually insult Augusta, because in fact they did it across the state for other cities who feel very passionately about their history and their name as well. Secondly, I do think you need to understand, and there's been a tremendous exaggeration of the influence that I may or may not have had in the process. So I will try to recapitulate this so that you understand the process. At the end of the day, there were 3 names that we all had to live with. My job is to advise my Regents about the pros and cons of the names, and if I have a preference, I will share that with it. But a large number of the community of Augusta at the same time contacted the Regents, including all the individuals writing editorials, etc., at the same time. And at the end of the day, the Regents, weighed these pros and cons and made a decision 17-1. at the end of the day, I actually can't tell the regents in the beginning what to do in the first part. So if anybody of all those people speaking that had the least influence, meaning I would have to live with whatever the name they chose, it was myself. This is not to absolve me. I have my own points of views. I do believe some issues around this. But the point is, at the end of the day, the regents have made a decision. And they've been very, very clear to all of us that they're not going to revisit it. They're not going to revisit it for us, or Gainesville, or Macon, or Waycross. I mean, and that's something that we need to understand. We will need to move forward because the promise of the future is much, much greater than a name. Augusta has lots of things that we need to be proud of, and we should be proud of. And one of the things is that we will be hosting the state's 4th Comprehensive Research University. Let me just end up with one story that I think it's important to all of us to recognize. In 1933, the Augusta National Golf Club decided that they were going to start a tournament, which began in 1934, and it was called the Augusta National Golf Tournament, and it was an invitational tournament, actually. In 1937, actually 39, they actually decided to change the name to the Masters Tournament. And at that point, there was a lot of discussion relative to the same that you are, which is nobody knows what the Masters is. We have a great city that's recognized for golf. We should do that. But their view at that time was that they were trying to create a tournament, which now, of course, all of us are very proud of, that was a national name. All I'm saying is I believe that that was the reasoning behind the regents' decision. You know, I think I should also tell you that I don't know why they made the decision. They did not share that with me. They don't really normally do that, and so we need to do that. Okay? So I'm only speaking by what I understand, but I appreciate the comment.
But we all know, I mean, I'm assuming everyone in here, that we know you can't make the change back. We understand that, and I appreciate the explanation. But don't you think, you know, in gaining some support back from the community of Augusta, just an apology for pushing it onto the regents? That name was not one of the June 15th article that came out by Susan Barkus. It was not one of the names that was included. It was a name that was thrown on last minute. It was, you know, we've not said that it came directly from you. You've not stated that, but we don't know where it came from. And I can tell you that in that June 15th article, one of the big pushing motivators was that a name would appeal to prospective students. And I can tell you as a high school teacher of seniors, the new name is not. They have no desire to come to this new school. And that's coming directly from the kids who will be attending, possibly, the new school.
I appreciate it, but I will share with you some good news. So the good news, and maybe Dr. Kennedy would like to expand on that, but the good news is that this year, today, this week, enrollment is up 11% in new freshmen coming to ASU. And transfers in are up 4%. Now that's a massive reversal from where we've been before, because our students, thankfully, are recognizing the value of what is to come. And we need to be very proud of that. I think we need to be proud that we, as a campus, are being recognized for excellence in teaching, for excellence in the future that we hold. And I just think we all need to embrace and applaud good news, right? It's not all about negative news. We need to applaud good news. And that's the issue that I think we need to keep in mind.
I'd like to say something. All right, I have a question and a statement, Dr. Aziz. To me, a good leader, when they come into the community, will not drive a wedge between academia and the community itself. That's a death knell. Second thing is that I think that coming here and omitting the name Augusta from the university or from the medical center is the biggest mistake you could ever make. It has immediate recognition, as my gentleman colleague over there said, but I have a reason to believe that a part of your plan in omitting the name is it's hard to move something when you've got the name Augusta in it. In other words, to equally diminish the institution in a whole and eventually diminish the importance to this community. is by just leaving the word Augusta out of it. And to spend, like he said, millions of dollars on a, in my estimation, on a, whatever you want to call it, I forget the word because I'm getting a little bit old, is simply because you never intended to use it to start out with. Now, I understand there are no Board of Regents here to defend their decision and to give us their reasons for it. They're all someplace else. I don't think there's one member of the Board of Regents in Augusta. Is there any? Can you correct me on that?
We have individuals, obviously, who are around us, but nobody lives in Augusta that is on the board.
But there's none of them here to defend their reasons. None. And they haven't been, as far as I know.
So,
because they don't care. They don't care. They're more interested in their own academia knowledge or whatever decisions than anything else. And I just find that despicable. You have to earn our trust. It's not given, it's earned. And when you first come into the community and you start driving that wedge, you're lost. You will never regain the respect of this community by what you've done.
So let me share that, and I appreciate. I do understand people's anger. I mean, and I understand that the president of any institution is the face, and obviously is given a tremendous amount of credit or blame either way, and that's the job. I will tell you that the Medical College of Georgia, then Georgia Health Sciences University, never had Augusta in the name, and yet we recognize it as the premier academic health center and health sciences university for the state of Georgia. So it's not fair, because remember, we are talking about a consolidation of universities, not a one university taking over the other. So not all the names were included in Augusta. Secondly, I don't think, and as I said before, I don't think that the regents were meant to do this as a disrespect of the community. They are trying to invest more in our community. They're trying to bring in more dollars to our community because they believe we can do it. We can create the next great American university. And that is something we need to recognize and be positive about, be happy about.
Okay, I also think that the comparison you used with Augusta and the Augusta National as to they wanted to name recognition, let me remind you that that's a private institution. It is not a public institution. Therefore, they could do whatever they want to, and they didn't really have to care what they did.
Appreciate you letting us know. Could you use the microphone? We can. Let's see if we can bend it downward or focus down. Or there we go. Thank you.
You're using this logic that you brought up, Macon and Waycross and some other town, that they're not in the name anymore. One of your basic themes has always been you want to be a national and international university. And with all due respect, I'm expecting you to say any time now, in the cosmos or the ionosphere. But that's all in the future, so we can't measure that. But there's a big difference in Augusta and Macon and Waycross. You want us to be known internationally. Augusta is already known internationally. Why wouldn't you want to capitalize on that? It doesn't make any logical sense to me.
Well, Dr. Kinney and I were talking about, we really are very happy about the pride that people have in their community. But I would also tell you that Macon also has a lot of pride. You're absolutely...
I'm talking about pride. I'm talking about exposure. These people are saying Augusta has been exposed all over the world by the Augusta National Golf Tournament. They don't say we're coming to the National in April. These reporters say we're coming to Augusta. Therefore, people already around the world know who we are and where we are. Why would you not capitalize on that? I don't understand. There's no logic in that to me.
So I think we need to all recognize that when we talk about the future university, it's a future university that is in Augusta, Georgia, and we intend to capitalize on our location. We intend to do that because, in fact, it's going to be Georgia Regents University in Augusta, Georgia. But all I can tell you is that at the end of the day, the name may have been a name that was chosen by the Regents because they wanted to create a statewide entity. I don't disagree that in golfing circles, certainly, Augusta has a widespread recognition.
We're not talking about just golfing circles. Schools get football teams because they know they can get name recognition. They don't really care about the football team. They want name recognition, and they get that indirectly from the football team. You already have it laying here at your doorstep internationally. It just does not make any sense. No, it doesn't.
Yes, sir.
There are a lot of people pointing fingers up here, so somebody over here. Oh, there's somebody up at the, yeah, we're sorry, we're not seeing you up here.
I'm not seeing you.
My name is Claude Harris, Jr., and I was born and raised here in Augusta, Georgia, and I attended Augusta State University, and I'm looking to return in the spring of next year. And I just wanted to be one of the few people, I guess, in this room that really appreciates the name change. I think it's going to be forward for us. Change is often uncomfortable, and it takes time to get used to it, but I think the illustration that President Aziz used with the Augusta National being switched 2 years later to the Masters is a great example. It's just going to bring more national coverage, and the fact that it's still here in Augusta, Georgia, is what makes it even more great. It's not leaving. We're not losing anything. We're just changing our name, and it's still here in Augusta. The heritage is still here. It's the Georgia Regents University. I'm with it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Dr. Aziz.
I don't know who was here.
Oh, right here, right here. I just
Hi.
want to know, do you feel that you've completely fulfilled your job as our representative for this name change?
That's a good question. So let me just be very clear, because I think you're absolutely right. I think that the question is, am I a representative, or am I asked to manage a university that benefits all of us in the state of Georgia and the Southeast and so on and so forth? I will tell you that in my, and this is again, I mean, since nobody seems to, to put a lot of trust in what I say, then you need to take it with a grain of salt. But in my conversation with the Regents, I was very clear that as I went through the pros and cons, who would appeal to, who would not, who would be unhappy, who would not. And again, you need to understand that I can't tell them, not because I'm not really, I'm not a leader, but because at the end of the day, they have to make those decisions, right? I mean, this is what they're authorized by the governor to do. I'm not authorized to choose a name. But the answer to you is, have I served my role as president of GHSU and the currently leader of the consolidation by presenting options and so on? The answer is yes. You may not agree with it, but presidents are rarely agreed upon according to what people say. I mean, Dr. Kinney's been a president for 25 years, and again, it is what it is. I mean, obviously you have to make unpopular decisions because you believe in the better future. But remember this, and I'm just going to restate this. We are building a great American university here in Augusta. Not going anywhere else, it's here. And in fact, the Regents, the fact that they actually are trying to direct more resources to us is proof that they believe we can do it.
So what do you prescribe for us to do about this? And I don't want to hear just go along with the name. I kind of want to know, what do you think we should do about changing this name back or getting a new name, doing whatever we have to do? I don't mind Augusta being a name. I don't mind Georgia being a name. Just I don't like the word Regents. That's clearly the whole statement here. So what do you want us to do to hear our voices, let our voices be heard?
I don't have any specific advice for you except to say that obviously you need to make sure you write a letter or something in writing. It's a better thing than to do phone calls and stuff. Write a letter. I would write a letter certainly to the Board of Regents. Okay, I would address it to the Chancellor, who distribute it to the Regents. And you may even want to write a letter to the Governor and write a letter in this effect. That's really how it's going to be communicating. I mean, there is not any other real avenue. And we've explored any other avenues, and there isn't any, and that's my advice to you. But that's the sort of the way we deal with other issues that we're not in agreement either. I think it's important to understand it. But I appreciate that. Appreciate it.
Yes.
Right here. I think you're right here. Okay. Yes.
Hi, my name is Jose Lugo, and I'm a student senator here at ASU for student government. And going back to the topic about change being needed, and I think the change is great, but and as he said, it's not easy, but we need to remember we need to be prudent about the change. And when I look back at the naming process, I see a little bit of rush. The pressure that's been put on, 9 months to combine two such large entities, I see nothing but rush and no good research being done as far as the working teams that worked on the name change. So my question to both of y'all is, do y'all feel like this is probably affecting other working teams? Because do you feel like they're being rushed? Because we're building a foundation for one large university. So once you build that foundation, it's really hard to change it, take things back. And I feel like the name that was chosen is kind of reminiscent of that. Now that it's been chosen, you can't go back and take it.
Dr. Kinney?
I can't comment on the work teams because they did most of their work before I got here. So I'm really not an authority on that and whether it's rushed. It seems to me that the output has been monumental. I don't know what is, in those various reports, so I don't have any way of judging whether it's thought out carefully, but I certainly know that everybody who was involved in it was totally engaged and serious about the enterprise. But I cannot answer your question.
So let me try to answer a little bit. And I agree with your concern. I mean, it's a concern always of any big transformation or change. Should we take long time? But you can imagine a couple of things. If we had, if the timeline had been years, the disruption and the anxiety would have been even longer. So there is a pluses and a minuses to obviously a short timeline. Most of the decisions early on, name, mission, and vision, so on and so forth, are decisions that had to be included in an application that goes to SACS in October. And that's why those decisions were having to be made short. And to be fair, we were actually among the last ones to actually come up with a decision around our name, just because we were trying to have the team work this through. Again, the team did a tremendous amount of job, and I will simply tell you that whether we like it or not, my hat's off to the work teams because they're working really, really hard. Now, is the full structure and foundation of the university going to be set by October or even by January or even by June of next year? The answer is no. I mean, there's lots of items that are going to still continue to be worked out, and the details and so on and so forth. So as I said before, my impression will be that we won't really have things firmly for about 24 months after consolidation. That's just my impression from previous experience, but there are just some things that have to happen before others, that's all.
May I answer a question nobody asked? I just want to say that in the time I'm here, I hope that this campus can be actively and productively engaged in two things which are not part of the working groups. One is really looking at everything we can do and looking fast, because again, I don't have a lot of time, everything we can do toward student success, understanding that what we do here is about the students. I talk about the red thread going through the fabric, and the student is that red thread and should shape the fabric. Looking at what we can do to assure student success, to remove any obstacles, to give any new help, etc. And the other thing is to really develop new programs in terms of the very best students here and added value in terms of new initiatives that we bring here. I think I mentioned that I was head of the National Commission that produced the Boyer Report on educating undergraduates in the research university. And there are a lot of really exciting things you can do for undergraduates because of the nature of the institution. And I would like very much for us to get some of those things moving and moving fast. And that's what I'm working at.
Now I would like to echo Dr. Kinney's words. Anything we can do to help is important, but again, the faculty and the community really need to be engaged around it, because at the end of the day, university is about its students. Remember that research is an important part of discovery, but only about 20 to 25% of the faculty are actually actively involved in research at a significant level. The truth is, research enhances the university experience, but it is about our students, and we need to make sure that we offer them that greater value. And I'm glad Dr. Kinney is here. She has tremendous expertise in helping us do this right now.
I want to go back to your point about...
I'm sorry.
Right over here.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
No, over here.
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, I want to go back to your point about the need to submit all the work most of the work to SACS by October. Why was it chosen that it needs to be this year? Why can't it be one more year?
Well, I think that was done early on. A decision was made actually by all the universities, and if you recognize that all the 4 universities made that decision really for October, and it had to do with, again, the need for a certain amount of pace to get it done, the fact that actually any kind of consolidation like this creates anxiety, uncertainty. Right now, faculty of both ASU and GHSU are wondering, what about my positions? Is it going to go away? Staff the same way. You know, programs come to a halt, they grind to a halt, philanthropy grinds to a halt. There's a lot of negatives to an extended period of that. That's all I can tell you. I mean, the decision was actually made again by the University System of Georgia, but, you know, at the end of the day, we had to sort of balance between, do we take a long time and sort of grind this out, and then do we do it in the short term? But again, all the consolidations are actually on the same timeline.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Kinney actually didn't give me the opportunity yet to ask that question, but that was my question, and it is directed towards both of you. My name is Isis. I am senior here, and soon to be very proud alum. Although I do care about what's going to come of the structure of the campus and all that kind of stuff, more importantly, ASU is my home, and the people that you're addressing are members of my family. And I want to know what efforts are going to be made right now, not 10 years, 15 years down the line, but what efforts will be made right now to comfort us, to bridge that gap that has been formed because of frustration of what's going on. It's difficult to accept change. Not that we don't need it, but it's difficult to just accept it, you know, head on. And so what I'm asking is, what efforts will you make to make sure that that process is easier for us? Because as a student, you can tell when your teachers are frustrated. There's a difference in, you know, the way that they communicate with you. There's a difference in how the campus just feels. I feel like a new student at an institution I've been at for so long. And it's uncomfortable to know that people are frustrated, and I want to know what you plan to do to fix that.
That is a very good question, and I think I indicated what I hope I can do. It is very important for this campus to know that it is in charge of its future, that it is in charge of what happens here, that what we do on this campus matters, and that what we do on this campus is headed toward that future in ways that will make all of us participants in creating something better. And that's what I'm, you know, I have a list, as Carol richly knows, of things I want us, or that we are getting started on right away programmatically, because I really think that we need to look at a number of issues, and let me suggest some. As I said, the most important thing is the student and what we do, and I do classify in the 2 categories that I mentioned, doing everything we can for student success and building new programs built on what we are teaching here. For example, one of we've talked about is the pipeline program for very bright freshmen to come here and be guaranteed, if they make very high grades, a place in the medical school. Another idea that I have inaugurated in other places is tying liberal arts students to business by giving them a curriculum of special courses as part of their minor areas to lead them if they then want to go to an MBA. I've got a lot of those things on my list. But if we can get started on some of those things, if we can get started, I know this is not kosher to say this, but I am shocked at the fact that we are talking about being a research university when we have a 4-course load for faculty. And I think we've got to look at how we can carry our load, serve our students, and get some relief from that burdensome load. So there are things that we need to do for the faculty as well. And, you know, I feel very much in a rush to get these things going. They won't all fly. I have more ideas in mind that will happen here or should happen here, but let's get them going and let's make this our initiative and let's make us the people that are running our show, and let's make us feel like we're the people that are running our show, because it is true.
If I could ask a question and make a comment. My name is David Steele. I asked a question last time that was answered indirectly. Dr. Kenny, if it were true that we were running the show and that it mattered what we thought, we wouldn't have Georgia Regents University as the name. We also would not have had a situation where Dr. Aziz would have shaded the truth, let's put it that way, about his involvement with the Regents. We've heard different shifting stories, but the reality is the Augusta newspaper uncovered your efforts, the emails, your trips, your involvement, and you admitted last time that in fact you were the one that presented the Georgia Regents name, and you were the one that made the decision not to show them the study that we spent $45,500 to generate. So you were up to your neck in this decision pushing GRU. Now, I don't like to be disrespectful, but I also don't like to hear this sort of runaround from a public servant. Now, I was a student here, my kids all came here, I hope my grandchildren come here. But I really would like them to have something that they're proud of and that they participate in. Dr. Z should have learned by now that we Southerners appreciate our legacies. We appreciate our history, just like the African American community didn't appreciate when you jumped the gun and tried to close Laney Walker. Now, I'd like to know, my question last time was, do you have the character to admit a mistake? Your reply was you didn't make one. Hypothetically, have you ever made a mistake? And if so, could you stand up and could you go to the Board of Regents, who, as I understand it, are political appointees? They're not academics. They have no special expertise in naming universities. They're political hacks. They're donors. Now, do you have the backbone to go to them and say, the community is in an uproar? You wrote a blog called Building Bridges. Now, I know you've already said you're not going to read the paper, so all of our efforts to write and get your attention are failing if we write the paper, because you won't read it. So you don't really want to know what public opinion is here. The Board of Regents are not answering any of their mail. They're not answering emails, telephone calls, or letters. So the wagons have been circled. You all have decided that once in a while you're going to place an article that says the furor has died down. Well, in your blog, I think there were 79 comments in the first day, and there were only 2 positive comments. Now, with all of this uproar, and with an understanding that the citizens of this city are aspirational, we want a great city. We believe, unlike you, that we already have a cool city. We don't think it's cool enough, but it's on its way. And having the University of Augusta would be better for this city. It would be better for the businesses, for the people, to develop the arts and everything else we would like here. Having a name that includes our location, that infers our heritage, is a much better decision than having Georgia Regents, which most students, I'm embarrassed that the term regent is unknown to so many people, but most of the young people I've spoken with don't have a clue what it means. So anyway, I think you've done a terrible job managing this. Dr. Kenny, in your remaining months, I hope you will mentor Dr. Aziz on how to deal with change, how to deal with the public, and how not to be so proud of his own opinions.
I think this young lady, unless there's somebody in the back, I don't know.
You want me to go
Don't
first?
see anybody here.
Me.
Go ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Nancy Powell. I am a senator for our Student Government Association here at Augusta State University. First and foremost, let me tell you that this will be my third name change as I have been in this institution. I was here when it was Augusta College. I'm here now when it's ASU, and I will be here when it transforms to GRU. While I am not happy with the name GRU, and I will make that known, and that is my personal opinion that I do not like that name. However, and I realize the dissension and the upset about the lack of input from the community, the students, whatever, that was overlooked, you know, and it has been said that you made the decision yourself. I know enough about things, and I know enough about the Georgia Regents to know that they're not going to let you walk in and say, this is what the name's going to be. You know, it goes before a vote, and I understand that. My concern is that we are spending a lot of time, energy, and effort, and now I'm a double major, history and political science. The history part is very important to me. Yes, I'm full of tradition. I'm from a small town. Tradition means everything to me. You know, my identity, if you don't know, the only way you know where you're going is where you came from. And, you know, that's very important to me. But at the same time, we're spending a lot of energy and rigmarole about a name when we should be focused on bettering the university, doing the programs that you have said. When we first discussed consolidation, a lot of the professors and the students were excited about becoming a research school, what it was going to offer, what other programs that were going to be able to come to this university and be able to offer, because it's been known forever as a community school. And, you know, it would be it would be a bigger, it would be a bigger horizon and be able to offer, a lot more for the student body to come in. And I hate to even say this as well, but the University of Georgia does not have Athens in it either. So, it's the University of Georgia. We would be Georgia Regents University. I don't like that. I want that said, that I do not like Georgia Regents University, but I'm just saying, why can't our recognition as Augusta and who we are not come from necessarily our name, but what we produce and put out there into the United States and the world as far as our student body and what we produce from this school, not because it's Georgia Regents University, because it's a top, level 1 A+ school that gives the best education possible, and people know us because of that and not just because we're Georgia Regents University. And that's all I have to say, and I know that's not popular, but thank you.
Thank you for that comment. It's 4 o'clock now. If we can finish with the last question here. Do you have a question?
Someone here.
My name's Catherine Rutland. I spoke to you last time, too, about the name. I went to school here when it was Augusta College. I am from North Augusta, South Carolina. It seems to me you don't grasp the fact that this is not just Augusta. All of the surrounding area, we love Augusta. We don't admit it much in North Augusta, but we do. And when I was young, we were very tied to downtown, the Imperial Theater, the Miller, we were there. And it's dilapidated. You're building new buildings. There are old buildings down there that could be refurbished and you could use in your grand plan. My mother worked at Davidson's. Some of you may remember Davidson's, which is now J.B. White's, part-time, and taught at Tubman to put me through this school. This school gave me my job teaching, which I loved, 40 years of it. And I'm a history teacher. The word regents is repulsive to me. That is an un-American name to me. We don't like rulers. We don't like people that will not listen to the will of the people. And that's what's not happening here. We don't want this to happen. I act like I am speaking for my friends who are alumni of this school. We have been to all of the meetings and done everything we could, but it's like beating your head against that brick wall head of yours that nothing goes into. You could help us. You could go down there and talk with the regents and tell them how we feel about this. All of these good points have been made about the famous Augusta, Georgia. This young man who asked the question about his diploma, he's got to pay extra. Are the students here right now your #1 priority, or is it all these grandiose plans that you have, which I hope work? We're all pulling for that. But what about the kids here now going out of a school that has no name recognition? Don't you owe them a fight to try to get Augusta? We, the alumni board too, what happens to the Augusta State Alumni Board? Do we just go away? What happens to it? There was talk last night at the board about the names of the campuses, and I've heard Somerville mentioned twice here today, once by you. What about Augusta College? Augusta College has been here for a long time. There are still alumni of Augusta College. We are all alumni of Augusta College, us old folks. The new folks are members of a school that's totally losing its name. At least when it went from Augusta College to Augusta State, we still felt included. We don't feel included in Georgia Regents University. I can just imagine you coming over to Clemson and trying to change their name. I don't know why you're going to get away with it here. Help us. You've heard us. You've heard everybody in this room, from the young people to the old people. We do not want it to be Regents University. If you make it a two-name campus, what will those two names be? Medical College of Georgia, Somerville, what are you going to call them?
It's a very good question. You know, I think we all need to recognize that there are a lot of ways of branding and getting ourselves to be recognized as we move forward and getting our city to be recognized as we move forward. There hasn't been any opportunity to have discussions around how we're going to call the campuses and how we're going to brand our location and how are we going to highlight Augusta and so on and so forth. I mean, there's just not been an opportunity to do that. You know, there is a certain number of voices that right now that conversation isn't going anywhere. But I will simply point out at the Medical College of Georgia. You know, we had Medical College of Georgia, the name, for 63 years after it became a full university in 1950. And we'll retain the name Medical College of Georgia for what was then the most recognizable component of our university, which was the School of Medicine. So we do and want to honor tradition. There just has not been an opportunity to have any kind of substantial dialogue around that. And I do hope that in the months to come we will be able to do that. So I appreciate that point. And we are going to try to do our best to recognize our alumni, recognize our heritage within the circumstances we currently have.
Minor footnote. I'm going to do what I can, and I suspect I can, to see that that young man and his colleagues do not have to pay for that second diploma. We can at least do that. Thank you all.
I know I've already spoken, but I was in the first graduating class, so maybe I deserve 2 more minutes, you know.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for attending today's forum. We do have to conclude.
Not questioning.
Thank you.
Don't rush to put in the GR. You don't know diplomas until you find out.